So, let's talk about the early 2000s in Bollywood. It felt like this whole new energy was taking over. But, just under the surface, this huge clash of ideas was brewing between two massive stars. And this wasn't just some disagreement over a movie role. Oh no. This was a full-on debate about legacy, about art, and what it even means to be bold on screen. And it all kicked off with one just absolutely brutal comment.
Oof, wow, words really don't get much sharper than that, do they? And this single, totally cutting remark came from Bollywood royalty Kareena Kapoor, and it was aimed straight at a rising and pretty controversial star. This was basically the explosive climax of a very, very public war of words.
So what on earth could lead to a statement that fiery? How did two actresses who were at completely different places in their careers end up in this massive head-on collision? Well, to figure that out, we've got to rewind the clock a bit, back to 2004. Okay, so the year is 2004, and the scene is set for a showdown between two, let's say, very different people in the industry. You've got Kareena Kapoor, who's basically Bollywood royalty, and then you have Mallika Sherawat, this newcomer who's making all sorts of waves for, really pushing the envelope. And right at the heart of this whole thing were two movies that came out that very same year, Kareena's film Chameli and Mallika's film Murder. Now here's the thing. Everyone was calling both of them bold, but as you're about to see what that word meant for each film, well, it was a world of difference. And the difference in how they approached their roles was, wow, it was night and day. In Chameli, Kareena plays a sex worker, right? But she intentionally took out any obvious sex appeal. She was going for something more artistic, more subtle. But then you have Mallika in Murder, which became this massive blockbuster hit precisely because it leaned into those bold, intimate scenes. It created this huge buzz all over the industry. So right here, Kareena basically draws a line in the sand. She's connecting her choices as an actress directly to her family's incredible legacy. For her, being bold was one thing, but as the granddaughter of the legendary Raj Kapoor, there was a line, a boundary that she was just not going to cross. And look, she didn't just stop at defending her own movie. Oh no. Kareena went public and just completely dismissed Murder. She called it a publicity stunt and slammed what she called too much overexposure. And with that, the first shot was fired. And believe me, it was a direct hit. Okay, so this is where things really heated up. In response to all this criticism, Mallika didn't just come out and defend her movie. Nope. She brought up the one name that was absolutely guaranteed to get a reaction from Kareena, her legendary grandfather, the showman himself, Raj Kapoor. So, the story goes, this was Mallika's comeback. By saying this, she was pretty much arguing, hey, my bold scenes are just part of a long tradition in our cinema. Even the great masters did it. But for Kareena, you can imagine this comparison was just completely out of line. Yeah, you can bet that comparison did not go down well. Kareena's response was fast, and it was fierce. And just like that, this thing escalated from a simple argument about two movies into this intense defense of an entire cinematic legacy. And there was absolutely zero ambiguity in Kareena's reply. She basically called Mallika's statement clueless, suggesting that she just didn't get the nuance, the artistry of the very legacy she was trying to use. And that brings us right back to that fiery quote from the beginning. She made a laughingstock of herself. So you see, for Kareena, the big deal wasn't just that Mallika brought up her grandfather's name, it was how she did it. She felt that Mallika was completely missing the point, the context, the whole artistic vision behind the way Raj Kapoor actually portrayed women on screen. And this really gets to the absolute core of Kareena's argument. She saw this huge difference between the sensuality in her grandfather's films and what she was seeing in Murder. For her, it all boiled down to one single thing: taste. She believed his heroines were always presented with grace, never ever just for shock value. So when you really break it all down, the massive divide in their thinking just becomes crystal clear. On one side, you have Kareena, fighting for an artistry defined by grace, by legacy, and on the other side, you've got Mallika, defending her right to push the boundaries and using that exact same legacy to justify it. They just had fundamentally different ideas of where the line even was. So really, in the end, this super personal fight was about something so much bigger. It perfectly captured a debate that was, and let's be honest, still is, at the very heart of the film industry. Where exactly is the line between art and publicity, or between being bold and just being overexposed? Ultimately, this whole clash, it wasn't just about two actresses. It was this perfect snapshot of the tensions that honestly still define the industry today. You've got that constant battle between artistry and just grabbing publicity, that blurry, subjective line between what's tasteful and what's overexposed, and of course, that constant struggle to balance a celebrated legacy with the pressures of the modern world. So when you look at Bollywood and really global cinema today with all the streaming platforms and standards that are changing all the time, it leaves you with a really fascinating question, right? Whose philosophy actually won out? Is it the one that champions that tasteful, graceful restraint? Or is it the one that's all about pushing every single boundary? It seems to me the debate is far, far from over.